Put your seatbelts on and get ready for the ride. We're the freaking New York Jets, so we're built for this shit.
Hello and welcome to another episode of In the Trenches with Gang Green. I'm your host, Bubbs. Today is Friday, October 10th. Hopefully everybody is doing well. It is Broncos week. It is week number 6, and the New York Jets and Denver Broncos both head across the pond to London for some Sunday morning football. Jets-Broncos week 6 matchup. A Jets team, Aaron Glenn, still searching for their first win. Only winless team left in the NFL. And from a Broncos perspective, 3-2 rather on the season, 2 big wins in a row, I should say, coming off of a massive road win against the defending Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles. Look to continue that this week. Today, to break down the Broncos angle of this matchup, we're joined by Ryan from Broncos Unfiltered. Ryan, thanks so much for hopping on. How's it going, man?
Dude, thank you for having me. Things are going good for us right now. We beat the Eagles. Now we got you guys, and then we got the Giants after that. So we're playing the New York teams right now and just trying to get this dub, staying focused on that. Because even though you guys are the only winless team, you cannot overlook you guys. You still have talent. So cannot overlook you guys.
Yes, definitely. Any given Sunday in the NFL, you mentioned the Giants. They lose against the Saints 4 days later last night, beat up on the Philadelphia Eagles. So anything could happen. It is certainly a week-to-week league. We'll dive into this one offensively, defensively, and all that good stuff. But just kind of want to start here. What are your overall thoughts so far? 5 games into the season for the Denver Broncos, finding their rhythm now, 2 big wins, the big statement win against Philly, and obviously the blowout against Cincy. And then just your outside thoughts on the Jets and where they're at, 0-5, lots of frustration, lots of issues first year here with Aaron Glenn. Just where are your thoughts there?
Yeah, so I would say from the Broncos perspective for us, things started off a little bit slow, and I kind of expected that considering the amount of hype that we got. Because just Sean Payton teams in the past, they typically start pretty slow, and Sean preached trying to start fast this year, but it's so difficult because he has a very complex offense. And last year was Bo's first year under that offense, and then this is his first time having not changed offensive coordinators since he was in high school, which we thought, oh, maybe that's going to create a faster start. But the difference is Sean gave him more. Sean opened up more of the offense this year. Compared to what he gave him last year. Last year, just gave him a little bit. And we have completely different personnel. We actually have tight end and Evan Ingram. We actually have running backs now so that we need to use them. And now that has started to come along more. So that's why when we lost some of those games early in the season, I was at the Indy game, disappointing to say the least. But we were in those games. And Indy's looking like a really good team now. So, and I even said when I was at that game, I was like, say what you want about Indy. Say what you want about Daniel Jones. In a few weeks, we're going to be looking at this game like, holy shit, we actually hung in there with this team. And they've kept it consistent, and they've been dominant. But, the Broncos have slowly started to come along now, kind of get their identity, I think, running the ball. J.K. Dobbins also has started to, kind of come into, feel more comfortable in his own skin. He's running completely differently than he was the first few weeks. He's a lot more patient. Same thing with RJ Harvey in the few touches that he's been getting, because he's a rookie. He's coming along right now as well. And I'm not too worried about him not getting that many touches because he's shown a lot of solid reps. Everyone is starting to get comfortable in the offense, in their own skin. And unfortunately for your guys' sake, you might have to, you might feel a little bit of that. Hopefully for us, for my sake, for the Broncos offense sake. But yeah, I'd say from the Jets, looking at the Jets, you guys have a new head coach, first time head coach, defensive, which is something to consider as well. And just from what I went through with Sean Payton and the countless head coaches, it takes time. You got to get that stink out. And that was the biggest issue with Sean when Sean first came, was getting rid of that losing culture is very, very difficult. We went 0-4, I think it was, and we had that 70 burger against the Dolphins. And then it wasn't until I remember I went to the Bears-Broncos game in Chicago, and we were down 28-7 at halftime. or I think in the third quarter, opening up the third quarter, we were down 28-7. And, we're just like, what the hell is going on? And then just something clicked in the players and they're like, we're not going to allow this. And then from there on, things started to get better. Still had your ups and downs, some games that we blew. But it takes time. None of that's the biggest thing I've learned. If a guy like Sean Payton, a Hall of Fame head coach that's won a Super Bowl, has had so much success, if it's taking him time, you got to cut Aaron Glenn some slack as well. Because he is a first-time head coach. He does come from the Sean Payton tree as well. So, I mean, I like that about him. And your GM as well. There's a lot of Broncos ties with the Broncos and the Jets. Your GM, Darren Mogi, he was assistant GM to George Payton as well. So it's going to be an interesting matchup from that perspective that I think people are not really viewing in the same respect because of how familiar, Sean is with Aaron Glenn, the type of defense that he runs, and how familiar Aaron Glenn is with Sean. It is obviously different than what he ran in New Orleans in terms of, you play to your personnel and who you have. But at the end of the day, it's still Darren Mogi probably also knows quite a bit about this roster and its strengths and weaknesses, but who knows how much really that plays a factor into it. I don't know. I'm not a coach. But that's why I do see this as a pretty interesting matchup. I don't know about it. I would say it has the potential for a trap game, but I think this Sean Payton coach team, there's such a mental detail focused aspect to them that I find it hard that they'll be able to drop a game because they overlook an opponent. They rarely do.
Yeah, and you make a good point about the connections, both coach, GM, all that. Those two connections, Sean Payton, even John Franklin Myers, who was sold away from the Jets last year for a bag of potato chips for basically so the Jets could hold on to.
He's been great. He has been great.
Yep. Yeah, he was awesome with the Jets, and Joe Douglas sold him away for nothing so they could make room for Hassan Reddick, who that turned into a disaster and the holdout and just the complete tearing down of the defensive line, which actually kind of transitions well into my next point. The Jets will get Jermaine Johnson back in this game, which is a key piece back to that front line for the Jets. But this is a unit that has struggled this year to stop the run, a unit that has struggled to get to the quarterback, and a lot of that stems from Joe Douglas taking what was one of the better fronts in the NFL and just slowly tearing it down with bad decisions and bad moves and bad trades like the JFM trade. And that kind of transitions into just what have you seen from J.K. Dobbins this year and even R.J. Harvey, those two guys. You mentioned a little bit of a different running style, a Jets team that has struggled to tackle, struggled to stop the run. What have just you seen from those two guys on why they've had so much success as a unit, top 5 rushing offense in football through 5 games?
So I would say it starts with the O-line for us. Our O-line, in the beginning of the season wasn't necessarily, I would say, playing very cohesively. The holes were there, but the running back and the O-line, they have to mesh, in terms of being comfortable with each other. JK being comfortable and knowing, feeling that tempo of when the holes are going to open up, seeing the offensive linemen's tendencies, knowing their strengths of when they're going to open that up. And I think that's really helped our O-line. The one thing, though, is that Ben Powers is out, our left guard. He got put on injury reserve. He has a bicep injury. He didn't even make the trip to London. So I believe it's going to be Matt Pert, if I'm not mistaken. That's going to be starting in his place. And I don't want to say, it's not that big of a deal that Ben Powers is out in the sense from a physical standpoint, his physical ability. He already wasn't the most athletic guard. He was starting to, show a drop off this year. And we were all starting to say, this is probably his last year here. We need to look for someone else. But the part that I am worried about is the mental aspect in the fact that this O-line, it's been the same O-line for at least the past year, but besides the center, Luke Wattenberg's been the same O-line for the guards and tackles for the past 3 years. So, having that break in the chain, I would say, is going to be a little concerning, especially for Garrett Bowles in terms of, whether it's holdings, false starts and all of that, because that's who communicates to him is the left guard. So having that difference in someone different communicating to him might be where this Jets defensive line can take an advantage of that a little bit and, kind of get a rhythm going for themselves. But our offensive line is very strong. They make some great holes for these running backs, which has allowed, and I've seen the holes get bigger over the weeks. Maybe that's because we played the Bengals and they have a terrible defense, but I saw the same thing against the Eagles as well. And they have they have Jalen Carter there. They have a solid defensive line. So, these running backs, they can break tackles. They got some solid speed as well. Not RJ Harvey. He can break tackles and break away pretty well. So I think ultimately it's going to be how this O-line plays without Ben Powers is going to be the big question for our run game. Because our offense right now relies heavily on the run game. They rely heavily on J.K. Dobbins. So if that gets shut down, then the Jets really do have a chance. But this offensive line is playing very, very well. And I've been a big critique of the offensive line because PFF, I don't know what your opinions are on PFF. I really don't give a shit about PFF. I will not be the person to cherry pick PFF when they give my team or a player that I like a good grade and then be pissed at them when they give them a bad grade. I think they're just overall a load of garbage because I don't know where they get these grades from. But they're grading our O-line as the top in the league. And then I was seeing Bo get bull rushed within a second of the ball snapping or within half a second. I was like, how is our O-line that good? Bo was making them look good. But now things have started to come together for them, and I can visibly see them protecting very well and doing very well in the run game.
Yeah, PFF is interesting. I agree. Just kind of side comment on that too. It feels like one of those things where you'll watch a game, cornerback will get burnt 3 times and let up 2 touchdowns, and then you'll turn around the next day and you'll see an 85 coverage grade, and you're like, that doesn't quite add up. So it could be, I definitely could be questionable sometimes. Now I do want to get into another weapon here for the Denver Broncos, and similar to the Bengals, you'll probably see it on Sunday. A lot of weaknesses pretty much at every single level. This Jets defense, one of the weaknesses has been the secondary, stopping play action. But Cortland Sutton should see some Sauce Gardner on Sunday. Sauce gets the big contract in the offseason, coming off of what was a down year last year for his standards. Had a very good week 1 against Pittsburgh, but these last 4 games has started to struggle a bit. Had the big touchdown let up last week against George Pickens. So an interesting matchup there. What have you seen though so far from Sutton off to a solid start this season?
So Sutton's very interesting. I'm an unconventional Broncos fan in terms of I don't really like Sutton that much because of his inconsistencies. A lot of people, they love Sutton. I was the biggest Sutton defender, but then his injuries really changed him in various aspects, his speed, his agility, and it took him years to adjust to play. He plays a position completely differently now than he used to. He knows he's slower, so he has to use that to his advantage in terms of just using his body. But Sutton, he can be on one game, completely off another game. It's very hit or miss, or he can just be off for the most of the game, and then when we really need him, he'll be the reliable target. He doesn't catch with his hands ever. Never catches with this. That's my biggest pet peeve because I played wide receiver all my life growing up, and the biggest thing was catch with your hands. And this dude just chest catches everything.
Yes, yep. He
just chest catches everything, and he does not have very good hands. I don't know if you saw on the first it was on a first drive last week. It was 3rd and 8 or something. Bo threw a go ball to him, perfectly placed. Right through his arms. So he annoys me in that. I like to say Cortland Sutton is a person with high blood pressure's worst nightmare because he'll just get you banging the table because he drops an easy ball, and then he'll when it's 3rd and 15 like it was last week, he's there. So overall, I gotta say, he's that guy. I don't like that he is our wide receiver 1. I don't know if he'll have a big day in terms of Sean game plans each game completely differently for every single player. So if he sees a weakness, if he sees that Troy Franklin matches up better against Sauce Gardner, he might try to get Troy Franklin on Sauce more. I like to call Sauce Ahmad by his actual name because he's been lacking the sauce lately.
Yeah, I got to start going back to calling him Ahmad too.
Yeah. So I've been calling him that recently. But it'll be interesting to see how Court does, because anytime my friends ask me, because like I'm surrounded by Bears fans, and when it comes to fantasy stuff, they always ask me, should I select Cortland Sutton? I'm like, dude, I'm never gonna advise. He may give you a ton of points one week, and then another week he may give you nothing. Unless you're in that room, that game planning room, and you know that he's gonna get targets, it's like you're running a risk. You're running a risk with him. So I think even for actually the first couple of weeks of the season, Troy Franklin was really our wide receiver 1. And then all of a sudden he just dropped off and Cortland Sutton came alive more. So it's very our dynamic with our skill positions is very, very weird. But I would say based on the last Jets game that we played against you guys last year, Cortland Sutton had a touchdown. He was Bo's reliable target. I mean, obviously completely different coach, defense, and all that now. So I would expect him to be a big factor in this game.
Yeah, I have been definitely living the Cortland Sutton experience this year with fantasy. Actually, in one of my leagues, having him in my lineup this week. It's funny. He went from, I think week 1 was 18, and then the next week he had 1 catch for like 6 yards against Indy. So at just 1 point. So definitely some streaky numbers there from a fantasy.
He's insanely streaky.
Yeah, he's similar to, I mean, there's always streaky players, but like Mike Williams there for a while was one of those streaky players where 1 week he would put up like 30 and the next week he'd have like 5, and then he'd get hurt and miss some time, and it would just be in and out of your lineup. So definitely a challenge there. I do want to move on though now to the defensive side of the football here for the Denver Broncos as they get set to face off against the Jets on Sunday. I mean, elite defense. What Vance Joseph has been able to do from where they were, you mentioned to kind of open up today's podcast about the 70 bomb that they let up against Miami, to where they are now, really just 2 years later. Last year they were excellent, and they have not disappointed again this season. Just before we kind of break down the positions, just your overall thoughts on this unit as they are once again off to a dominant start here in 2025.
Yeah, they've been as advertised, like even after week 1, which was a closer game than we wanted to against the Titans. They sacked Cam Ward so many times, and they're leading the league in sacks right now. Nick Bonito has been an absolute dog. In my opinion, he's Defensive Player of the Year front runner right now. He's leading the sack race by I think like 2 sacks right now. Our pass rush has been very, very good, but I will say that there are some weaknesses. 2 in particular. Riley Moss gets burned. He has solid coverage for like, I would say maybe like 70% of the time, but then that other 30%, he's letting up big gains, crucial third downs. Like I mean, I know he was coming off a knee injury last year against the Bengals, but Joe Burrow and T. Higgins targeted him, and then and he got cooked the entire game. And then when we played the Bengals again, you could tell that Zach Taylor was trying to target him again early in the game. Even with their backup quarterback, it still didn't matter. They're still trying to target him. And then last week against the Eagles, they're targeting him as well with the wide receiver too. They weren't throwing it towards Pat Surtain's way, which is going to happen when you have Pat Surtain. They're going to throw it towards your other corner. And he just rarely stands up to the challenge. And the interesting thing about Riley Moss, and this comes more from a athletic perspective, just being an athlete and, seeing football players, watching football, you're going to notice that he's very, I wouldn't say frail, but he doesn't have like a sturdy frame. Like he's very like kind of like loose. Like when he gets hit on the ground, he ragdolls his entire body, and he's always like out of breath or something. I don't know if it has to do with his conditioning, but like you look at Cooper DeJean, very strong, sturdy guy, like strong base. You're not gonna be able to push him around. Riley Moss is not like that. So if you guys target him anyway in your offense, that's like the best thing you can do, because he will get cooked, especially when it comes down to like verticals and going deep. He will get cooked. He's pretty small in a sense as well. So he can't defend those jump balls well at all. There was at least 2 plays that he got burned on. There was 3 plays. One of them actually counted with Devontae Smith last week. He got burned on another 2. One of them should have been the dagger for us in that game, but there was a flag because Saquon Barkley didn't set himself. So he's a major concern. The other major concern is Alex Singleton, and partially because we don't have Dre Greenlaw back yet. I think he comes back next week because he was on short-term IR. Alex Singleton's coming off a ACL tear from last year. It wasn't a major ACL tear like some of these knee injuries like Javonte Williams where he tore like 3 ligaments in his knee. But Alex Singleton's like 31 years old. He was leading our team in tackles. We can tell he looks a lot slower. He can't necessarily make those cuts like he used to make those tackles. He got burned last week by Saquon on a touchdown in coverage. So that's definitely a weakness right there with him. So that's why we can't wait until we get Dre Greenlaw back, because that's the guy that we're really leaning on for that pass coverage, the linebacker in the pass coverage, because he was really good at guarding tight ends, such as Travis Kelce. In that Super Bowl, Travis Kelce, I think he had maybe like 1 catch or something. And then Dre Greenlaw popped his Achilles, like celebrating, and then all of a sudden Travis Kelce was alive. So linebackers there because like Alex Singleton's our linebacker 1, and he should really be our linebacker 2. So, and then our backups are all right, solid, but obviously they're not Dre Greenlaw. So that's definitely a concern there. But our second, Hufanga has been amazing. He's been our biggest return from this offseason. Well, maybe now J.K. Dobbins is like creeping up on that, but Hufanga easily for sure. He's a beast. And then Pat Surtain, he's been doing solid as well. And of course that pass rush, they are great. So definitely a lot to worry about there with them.
Yeah, I guess just a transition more into the defensive line and that pass rush, whether it's Zach Allen, JFM. I mean, maybe talk a little bit too about JFM, just the former Jet.
Yeah.
Every time it's crazy how much these two teams have played against each other. It's pretty much turning into every single year.
Yeah, I think it's them damn near every single year.
Yeah, with them finishing in the same spot, and then obviously the 2 years ago, I think it was, they played AFC West and all that. So, but yeah, I mean JFM, he last year was very good. Again, this season, just that really consistent under the radar, isn't going to pop off from like a stat standpoint, but just a consistent, reliable piece.
Exactly. Yeah, he pops off in the moments when you need like a sack or you need a stop or something. He's always there. He's a great piece to our D line in terms of like we have so much depth. We have him, DJ Jones, Zach Allen, so many guys in there, and he's really, I think this defense took a step up once we got him last year, because these guys weren't getting gassed so much. We could actually keep rush just 4, which allows the secondary to hold for so long. And I think he was a huge game changer to this defense. I know that's very painful to hear for you guys. Yeah. But like the thing I'll say is, hey, be glad that you're not wasting his career away right now, because we wasted Von's career for some years. And that's why we sent him off to the Rams. And we wasted a lot of players' careers that could have won somewhere else. We wasted Justin Simmons' career for the most part and all that. So from that perspective, just be glad that they're doing well is the best way I would put it. But yeah, JFM, he has been amazing. I think he wants a new contract. That is the one thing right now, is he's kind of been pouting a little bit on social media about wanting a new contract, and he deserves it. He's going to get paid. That's the one thing our ownership has proven, is that like if you earn it, like you'll get it. Like if you show the numbers, you show up, you perform. That's why there was no issue with him showing up to training camp or anything. I think the only thing was he didn't show up to to mini camp or something, one of those optional ones early in the spring. He didn't show up to that. He did his own training, but when it came to the mandatory stuff, he was there. Even though he wants a new contract, I think we'll get that done with him, because he's such a huge piece to this D line. And yeah, dude, he's great to have.
Yeah, definitely. He's very, very much missed for the Jets, and it's just so unfortunate. We were talking a little bit too off air about it. The way they got rid of him to get nothing in return, and then kind of put their chips all in the middle for Hassan Reddick. It would have been one thing if they moved on from JFM and Hassan Reddick turned out to be great, and maybe he was still here and he ended up getting a contract extension and whatever, like that whole Rodgers, that whole team ended up working out, then you'd be able to understand. But with the way it went with Reddick and just the way last season went and the way things are going this season, the Jets could 100% use a piece like JFM. His absence has not been filled yet. And unfortunately, the pieces that we're trying to kind of fill his absence with, they're just not on his level. So that's certainly the very, very unfortunate
It's going
part.
to take time. Yeah, it's going to take time.
Yeah, definitely. I guess kind of as we start to close things out here, any other players, matchups that you're looking for under the radar pieces offensively, defensively here for this Denver Broncos team to keep an eye on Sunday?
I'm just interested to see what type of offense we choose to run.
Mhm.
We're very we don't necessarily have an identity yet. We start to notice that the run game really works well. Surprise, running when you can run the ball, the rest of your offense works well. So I hope that we can just run the ball the most of the time, eat that clock away. I don't want to see us having to go there and pass a ton because I mean, like, all respect to the Jets, but I mean, if you have to pass the whole game, unless you really want to, then something's probably going wrong. Because if you can run the ball, then you can control the game. And I think both sides just want to, try to get the win and then get out of London and go back home, because it's also ridiculous that there's no bye week for either of our teams. I don't know. Do you guys have a bye week?
No, they didn't elect it.
The NFLPA is crazy. I thought there used to be a mandatory bye week after it, which is insane that they don't have one.
I think it's weird. Like, the teams have the choice now, I think, because I know Pittsburgh took one.
Okay.
And then Minnesota, I think, stayed out there because they went from Ireland, I think, to London last week. It's weird. They're and these London games are always so strange with how the teams come out, the time change. Like, it's just, they're very hard to predict. And like you said, I always like to kind of rather take the bye afterwards just to reset, because now your time change back here, long flight, and then boom, you get up Monday, it's 6 days away, you got another game to play. So it's definitely a challenge.
Yeah,
sure.
I know we didn't touch on him that much, but I'm really just interested to see what Bo Nix does.
Yeah.
Is he going to be running a lot, or is he just gonna stick in the pocket? Because that game last year was pretty messy with all that rain. He didn't play that well. Ultimately, we got the dub, which was what mattered. But yeah, I'd say that's the biggest thing I'm interested in, is just to see what type of Bo we get. Because he's shown, I completely believe in him. I think he's our quarterback for the future. I think a lot of people do as well. Sean Payton's offense just takes time. Even John Elway said that it takes a quarterback probably 3 years to fully understand an offense and know it. And Sean Payton's got one of the most complicated ones in the NFL. So it takes time. So I'm just interested to see, how he plays, because still, all respect to the Jets, man. We have not had an easy game against you guys each year. It's never been that easy. We had that atrocious one with Russ the other 2 years ago, where you guys won in Denver, and there's that scoop and score. I turned the game off, and then I come back. I'm like, oh, we're back. And then the next play is just Russ fumbling the ball, scoop and score. I'm like, I'm done with this shit.
Yeah, that was they went to Denver actually back-to-back years and won. The year prior, the Brees Hall had that long touchdown. That was unfortunate game that he tore his ACL too.
Yeah.
And then the Russ game with the fumble, Bryce Hall, who actually picked it up, who's not even on the team anymore. I believe he's in Tampa now.
Yeah,
but that was a couple weeks
game
after.
with Sam Darnold as well, where he broke one for 50 yards. Oh.
Yeah, that Thursday night game when that was the weird Pierre Desir game for the Jets when he had the 2 interceptions and then let up 2 touchdowns. Judy had a big game. I think Brett Rippon was the quarterback at that point, I believe. Yeah, that was. Yeah. And I think Fangio was still the coach COVID year. Yeah,
rough times.
Yeah, that was certainly an interesting one, and that was the 2-14 Jet season. So right there with you with difficult times for those teams, but it'll be interesting. I guess just kind of here for a little bit as we kind of close things out. What's the ceiling you feel for Bo Nix? I guess just throughout his career, not even just this season, but moving forward. What do you feel his peak would be?
I mean, I think peak he could get near Drew Brees in my opinion. And I say that like not with just like my orange and blue glasses. Before we even drafted him, when I looked at all the QBs in the draft, I was like, guys, why is everyone talking about this guy like he sucks? Why is everyone saying he's unathletic? This dude is insanely athletic. Why are they talking about his arm strength? All you have to do is watch a basic Oregon like Ducks highlight reel. You can see he can rip the ball. And so that's when I was like, okay, well, all these people are just going by. Someone said something, and then people don't want to watch the film on every quarterback, and I understand why. And then they're just running with that narrative instead of actually watching him and seeing what he did. So then when Sean Payton selected him, I was like, that just like I felt reassured of what I already thought. And Sean said he saw the same things. So I'm not saying I'm the smartest person in the world, but if Sean saw what I saw, I'm like, that's pretty reassuring from like a future Hall of Fame head coach. And of course, like all the stuff he's had to say to back up Bo, saying like in within like 5 years, he'll be a top 5 QB for sure, and all that stuff. I think he's got all the mental tools, he's got all the physical tools. The few things that he does have to work on, though, I would say is more of like a mental aspect in terms of calmness. And that's the same thing happened last year, but I'm going to take that more as right now. I'm correlating that with the amount of information he's getting from Sean, all the stuff that he's responsible for in the offense. And because he spends the entire offseason working, studying everything. So you got to think about it like when you go and do a test or something and like you're studying for it, it's like you get there and you're just like, oh my gosh, like you just absorbed all that info and now you have to go and apply it. And then you're doing that. You're trying to react on a football field and you don't want to think as much. It's difficult. But he's slowly been getting more in rhythm and everything, getting more comfortable. So once he gets just more comfortable, because the main thing with that is when his mind's moving fast, you can see it in his feet, and then he's not planting, then he's overthrowing and doing all that. So if he didn't have an issue overthrowing balls last year at all. So it was very interesting that this year, that's one of the issues that he's been having. But I think he has an incredibly high ceiling, especially with Sean Payton in that pairing as well. I think he would have done good if he would have gone to other good organizations, just as any other QB would. I mean, people compared him to Mac Jones. Mac Jones played pretty well with the Niners, and I wasn't shitting on Mac Jones either. I'm like, well, what do you expect? How do you expect him to play when he was given a defensive coordinator as his offensive coordinator, a guy that's never called plays in that environment? And then looking at Bill Belichick now, we're like, how much of it really was Mac and how much of it was his environment?
Yeah.
Same thing goes for Sam Darnold as well. He had that year of football rehab in San Francisco, and then now he's balling out with the Seahawks.
Yep. Yeah, the Chapel Bill experiment with North Carolina is certainly not working either. The fall from
atrocious.
The fall from grace, I guess, for Bill Belichick has been a bumpy one for sure. It's not getting any prettier. So anyway, really appreciate you coming on. This was a lot of fun. Where can everybody find you? Your social media, your content, all that good stuff.
Yeah, so my main social media are my two, Broncos Unfiltered on YouTube, post videos on there, and I live stream some of the games. I'll be live streaming this game, actually. I'll be watching it Sunday morning right here. And then Ryan's Burner 13 on X. That's where I do a lot of posting on there. Don't follow me on there if you're sensitive, because I'll just post random sports stuff and just like anytime I get mad. So on there as well. Don't ask why I said burner, because I just post a lot of stuff on there. So
yeah, definitely check them out. We'll leave the link to the podcast and all that stuff down below. So definitely check that out over to get the Broncos side of things. Is definitely a potential team here to keep an eye on the rest of the season as well. Not even just this week, but moving forward. So really appreciate it. Yeah, of course. This was a lot of fun. Stay tuned. We'll have a lot more content coming your way. And thank you all for tuning in.
Yeah.